If you hear loud noises in my background, I'm pretty sure that what they're doing is demolishing the bottom of my building. I don't know why, but I trust that it won't fall down, at least not during this video, during which I will be discussing the Heat Wave and the Thief episodes of Land of the Lost. So I'll just go right into that. Heat Wave, not a particularly memorable one. The Thief, memorable because I remember it from when I was very little. It starts with Tom Porter's got a dream. He has a dream about the Sleestaks actually finding the treehouse, which the first thing I thought when that came up was, how dumb are the Sleestaks? That there seems to be this limited world that they're all in, the dinosaurs, the Sleestaks, and the Porters, and the Sleestaks have not found the treehouse. Even the T-Rex, Scarface, found the treehouse and remembered where it was and went back and then got electrocuted and then he didn't come back again. So that did make me wonder how dumb the Sleestaks are, especially considering Shung seems to be psychic and have a psychic crystal dagger. But I suppose it's one of those things, I say this a lot, there's no plot, there's no character. If they do find it easily, it can't. They probably didn't want to repeat the whole. Well, it knows that the monster knows where we are, but we're going to do something to the monster to condition it not to come back. The Sleestaks are slightly less lizard-brained than the T-Rex. But anyway, he wakes up from his nightmare. Tom does, and Annie is outside with Tasha because it's very, very hot. It's a heat wave. And they're out of water. Which it was just 2 episodes ago, on the other page here, that it was 5 straight days of rain. So I don't know how they ran out of water so fast. The place where they usually get the water, the watering hole they call it, is bone dry. But the lake, which is another body of water, is very full to the point where the dinosaurs are standing in it and slightly submerged. And so they go on. So there are two water or there are 2 water missions. Annie has to water the garden so that the plants continue to grow, and Tom and Kevin go to get more water in their little containers made out of gourds or whatever they're made out of. And then Stink comes along. Now Stink, oddly, not bothered much by the heat, even though he is completely covered with fur. The Porters in their t-shirts are all sweaty, but Stink completely covered in fur, but he's just excited to go get the Sunaku, which look like eggplants, but are called Sunaku in the episode. Probably they're played by eggplants. So Stink comes to invite Annie. Annie doesn't want to go because she's got to tend to the garden. Stink is very, I guess it's in the heat. It's particularly is a particularly good time to pick this Sunaku. Tasha ends up going with Stink, which scares Annie a little bit because Tasha is essentially a baby wandering off. And Stink and Tasha have some semi-pantomime funny antics where, especially one concerning ants, where just Stink sits on some ants and they crawl around on him. So let's see. So our heroes are split up. Krista eventually comes by the treehouse looking for Stink, and then when she finds out from Annie Stink went to find the fruit, Tasha went with her. Annie wants to go after them, but Krista says no, it's very dangerous because the dinosaurs go crazy in the heat. Which the dinosaur with the big long horn and the Brontosaurus don't seem to be going too crazy, and Scarface just seems to be acting like Scarface. But this also brought up Stink would know that he would know as well as Krista that the dinosaurs go crazy and that's particularly dangerous and not a time to be wandering around in a heat wave. But again, it's, there's no episode, there's no conflict, no danger if people behave rationally. And perhaps Stink is not behaving rationally because he's so suffering so much from being completely covered in fur and in a heat wave. So the Sleestaks are ultimately parched as well. They're getting water too, and they smell Kevin and Tom at the lake and then chase them around for a while. You could tell I wasn't that into this episode. And Kevin and Tom lose the Sleestaks, and by climbing up in a tree and then doubling back, because they're again trying to make sure that the Sleestaks don't find the treehouse. Which again, Sleestaks must be pretty dumb. I wonder if they ever do. I will look for that in future episodes. And Krista also says that Scarface is interested in this fruit. Before they get to the Sunaku, Stink and Tasha eat what seem to be leaves wrapped around something, and I thought of like grape leaves wrapped around olives. I think it's some Greek thing, and they don't like that. And then the ants don't like that either. Well, Tasha doesn't. Stink does. And then nobody likes the Sunaku. Stink ends up throwing the Sunaku at the Sleestaks to save the porters, and thinks he's lost it all. But then he's presented at the end of the episode with a sliced up one, and then everyone takes a slice, and the porters one by one and Tasha leave to spit out the bite that they've taken, and Krista and Stink just sit there. Let's see, what's the... Stink, okay. And so that is how the episode ends. I suppose Krista and Stink, if it's a bad tasting thing, they've been putting up with, well, we've got to eat it because it's what we have to eat for longer than the porters have. Eventually you learn you got to eat what is available to you. Or maybe they genuinely like it. So, the thief. The thief is one that I remember because it's, I think mostly because it's got a very scary pterodactyl in it. It concerns Kevin wanting to really... the overarching thing is they want to throw a birthday party for Krista. And it's kind of the same, as a similar thing to Space Case's where they throw a birthday party for Radu. They don't know when his birthday is. He doesn't know when his birthday is because he was hatched. She doesn't remember when her birthday is, probably in part because she's just lost track of what month, week, year, day it is at all. And I'm surprised that the porters haven't also lost track of that. They don't seem, they got a ton of stuff. They don't seem to have a calculator. Calendar. They probably do have a calculator, but not a calendar. So I don't know how they're playing, but it's the thought that counts, and it's also maybe just a way of honoring Krista. So Kevin wants his present to be a necklace made out of crystals that he gathers from the mountain around a pterodactyl nest. And I remember the pterodactyl is a particular close-up shot of the pterodactyl, I think stop motion like the other dinosaurs. That is particularly scary because it was... pterodactyls don't get a lot of attention in dinosaur movies, things, at least they didn't back then. And so I think it was the first time seeing a pterodactyl depicted as the dangerous monster in a dinosaur thing. And it looked kind of like a human with the leathery wings, and of course the long beak. But it looked muscular. It looked like a very muscular bird, and that left its mark. That left an impression. The pterodactyl chases Kevin away after he grabs a particularly big, impressive crystal, and he brings them home, and we see that they're decorating with flowers. Annie's decorating, and she's also painting a picture of Krista, which fools Stink into thinking that Krista has been captured in the picture. I think that was the first time I was exposed to the idea that some people might think that a small image of a person in a screen or on a surface means that person is trapped. A version of that last week we watched the movie version of Dark Shadows, and Johnny Depp tears apart a television looking for the tiny songstress, as he calls her. And then Tom Porter is ostensibly going to bake a cake, but Stink ultimately ends up eating all the cake batter. After Tasha is prevented from eating the cake batter, it's going to be a banana cake, it looks like, which might be why Stink, the monkey person, goes after it. So they go, why do they leave? They go looking for, but first Kevin shows everyone the crystals that he gathered, and Stink can't keep his paws off of them. He's very interested in them because they're shiny things, and Stink, like Tasha, is childish. And Kevin gets very, very possessive and yells at Stink, and then Stink wants to be left alone. Doesn't leave the treehouse area, just he sits at a tree at the base of the treehouse. And then the porters go looking for fruit to eat, and also to probably for the party. Maybe bananas, so that Tom can make a new cake. So when they come back from that, first they meet Krista out on the road. They're looking for fruit. She invites them to go fishing. They say, not right now, but maybe later, and they do go out later. But first, they go back to the treehouse, drop off the fruit, and they find that it has been ransacked by a thief, like the title says. And Stink is there, kind of jumping around, but he insists that it was ransacked before he got there, that he found it that way. But then he turned on the radio and started jumping around. So Kevin especially blames him because among the things missing are Kevin's crystals, and he blames Stink for taking the crystals. Stink insists he didn't, and of course does not produce the crystals, which if he were caught, one would think maybe he would give the stuff back, but which he doesn't. And Kevin feels like he has to go and get more crystals, and he doesn't believe Stink, and yells at Stink again. And so then they go out, or Tom and Annie go join Krista at the lake to go fishing, and Annie, we find out, catches a lot of big fish with banana rind, I think, and that's just it's actually one of the better jokes in the episode, just the ridiculousness of it, the randomness of it. And then they come back and the treehouse has been further wrecked. And Stink, meanwhile, is off on his own, doing his own thing. But before they find the further wreckage of the treehouse, Kevin sees him sneaking around, seemingly with a bag of stuff. And Stink eventually does find their stuff, because Stink, of course, is not the thief. He finds their stuff on the road to the real thief, which is the pterodactyl. And Kevin is also on his way to the pterodactyl's place because he wants to get more. I think he's on his way there to get more crystals because he doesn't have his crystals anymore, and he wants to make that necklace. So, but on his way there, he gets picked up by the pterodactyl and taken to the nest where the eggs have not hatched, but there's always a chance that they will, and I think the idea is that the pterodactyl wants the baby pterodactyls to eat Kevin. Stink is already in the nest, hiding, and turns on the radio, which the pterodactyl has nabbed. Among other things, the pterodactyl was the thief, and that probably also added to the scariness of the pterodactyl, because it's a big scary thing, but it was able to get into the treehouse and grab things discerningly and then leave. Of course, it also probably was like a bull in a china shop, and that's why, like, flapping around, giant wings, small space, wrecked everything. Stink uses the radio to scare off the pterodactyl, leading to a tearful apology by Kevin, which is another particularly memorable of the moment of the episode, even from way back when I first saw it, because of the way that, like, the actor, what's the actor's name? The actor's name is Robert Gavin. and he just really sells the apology. And the way he says, "I'm really sorry," I'm not going to imitate it, but it's of all the things, it has stuck with me over the years. And I always, whenever I think of it, I think that it's from some big dramatic movie, and it's from the end of this episode of Land of the Lost. So, uh, long story short, Krista arrives to a dark treehouse, and they shout surprise. And when Kevin gives her the necklace, she kisses him on the mouth, nice and passionately, which is, of course, what Kevin wanted. And then Kevin gives Stink a necklace made up of other crystals, not the big, nicest ones, but as an apology gift, which is very nice. Because of the noise, I'm not going to ramble on for too much longer. Next time, we'll be talking about Power Play, which is the last episode of Season 1, and The Sorceress, which is the first episode of Season 2. In the meantime, as Krista would say, peace and love.